Hello everyone, welcome to this video. What does civil service examination self-study strategy mean? Number one, to go and pass the civil service examination, it is very important that all of us have a strategy in place. And most of the strategy for a lot of us involve signing up to a coaching class and ensuring that we get the best out of that coaching class. But what if I tell you that you don't need to do it? It's not meant for every single one of us. There have been All India top 10 rankers before who all did self study and did not use any of the coaching institutes throughout the year, but only use them very smartly, very judiciously. And this is not just their learning, but it is also my learning based upon my attempts at UPSC. I have passed UPSC once in the prelims and once in the mains. I have I haven't yet cleared the interview stage, but I'm pretty sure that to a lot of you out there, you all have an innate ability to probably clear the interview round, but you just need a push to clear the prelims and the mains rounds. With that said, if you are a person who has not yet started your civil service preparation and you are going to start it only now, what does a civil service preparation look like? The first phase is not something that you will find in any video out there, which is you have to understand a lot of things about yourself first. You have to understand your physical self. You have to understand your mental self. You have to understand your work life balance, and you have to understand your method of learning. This is even before you decide, I want to join a coaching class, I want to do this, I want to buy an NCRT, I want to buy this, I want to read that, I want to give this, etc., etc., etc. Intrinsic motivation is always the number one piece of how any success has happened in this world. Extrinsic motivational factors do contribute. It's not that they don't, but intrinsic motivation is the number one factor at all points of times. And you will not find that intrinsic motivation if you do not understand yourself. Life requires a lot of inner work, and IAS is nothing but a test of how good you can be with the resources at hand. Because at the end of the day, IAS is not a specialist examination. UPSC Civil Service is a generalist examination. And to be a generalist and to go over and above the other crowd, not only do you have to be ruthless, as most people would have told you by now, but you also have to be very much understanding. Tomorrow, when you are joining the services, you are going to be learning about something very important in catering to every single people who is going to come to you, and that is empathy. And a person, a highest form of empath is someone who first understands himself or herself. So, first, let's understand the physical self. Health is wealth is something that we have all learned for all our life, right? One thing that we have to understand with respect to civil service examination is like every single day is going to be super important for you. And any sick day that you are going to be taking in your preparation is a day lost, is a day gained by your competitor. And it is going to be super, super important for you to not lose your health during your preparation. It requires immense discipline. And discipline is not just in mental phase, but it is also in physical self. You have to understand your body. You have to understand what your body is telling you. You have to be in tune with what your body always tells you. What to eat, when to eat, how to eat, how often should you eat, Every single piece is going to be super important, because the more you take care of your physical self, the physical self is going to give that nourishment to the brain to ensure that your brain is able to take in all that is necessary for the civil service examination. Civil service needs a lot of rigor and discipline in general in everything that you do. But it first starts with you having a super good routine in your physical self. How does that look like? You have to first understand that you have to start sleeping regularly. I'm not advocating here to say that you have to sleep probably 10 to 7. You have to probably sleep 11 to 6 or something like that. 7 to 8 hours is a good sleeping time that is necessary for any human being, and even more for our brain that is going to take a lot of load during this entire period of time, right? So, this regular sleeping time is going to nourish your brain. It's going to keep it very, very active when you want it to be. So have a regular sleeping time, whether it be nighttime or daytime, make sure you have that. Number two would be a regular physical exercise. There is a lot of research out there. If you want to become a good civil service officer in this country, you have to understand that physical exercises are going to be super, super important. And to understand the brain, what physical exercises release what chemicals at all points of time, and how to get control of the brain during your physical exercise is going to be super important. There have been enough studies. Top athletes, what they do is like before they go into any event, they do this physical exercises, right? But it's not just top athletes who do it. A little known fact: a lot of stockbrokers, the famous stockbrokers of the world, or hedge fund managers of the world, whose mind has to be sharp at all points of time, dedicate anywhere between 30 to 16 minutes on their regular physical exercise. And consistent eating habits is very, very necessary. You can take intermittent, like that has become the norm at a lot of time right now. Like you can go 16 hours between meals, but even there is a regular consistent eating habit that comes in. Do not intake things that are not proving right for your body. Make sure that you have enough carbohydrates, make sure that you have enough um, make sure that you have enough fats, vitamins. Your diet should be supremely balanced, and you are going to get that balanced diet only when you follow a consistent eating habit and when you consistently have a diet that ensures all these. There are enough apps out there like that will help you in guiding you on this, but it comes again to the discipline, right? And how disciplined you are in not skipping a meal. Do not ever skip the the meals that you consistently eat, right? And that is going to be super important, because any change in the circumstance in your physical self, it's going to affect your brain, which is going to affect your preparation. And number four, meditation. I can't stress this enough, but meditation is super, super useful in ensuring that you have a better physical self. It calms your mind, it calms your focus. Every single day, if you start off with a bunch of silence around you, you tune your body in. There is an activity called the body scan out there, which ensures that you can tune into each and every single organ from the top of your head to the bottom of your toe. The moment you ensure that your meditation comes in, you are in tune with your body, the body will be willing to listen to what you say to it, and you will be willing to listen what the body is telling you. Meditation helps you in better focus, and the more focus you have, the better your attention span could be used for. Which brings me to the next piece, which is understanding the mental self. The brain is plastic. I don't know if you have heard of this term before, but if you have, that means that you have done your research already, which is brilliant. What does it mean? What does plastic brain mean? The plastic brain means that the brain can be tuned into learning at any point in time. It doesn't matter whether you're an 18-year-old, it doesn't matter whether you're 30-year-old. The brain can be made to learn. This is going to be super important because brain is just like any other muscle in your body. The stronger you train your brain, the better you can ensure the output is. Like if you do your physical exercises, if you do your biceps, your triceps, your abs, every single piece of that is going to give you the strongest muscle, the best fit body that you can ask for. That is going to increase your stamina. That is going to increase um, your life expectancy in general. But what happens when you train this brain? It is the strongest muscle in your body because the way that a brain can be trained is multifold. It can be trained, as previously said, by meditation, by regenerating consistently the time the brain needs to get regenerated. It can be trained by powerful visualization techniques by using the mind's eye. If you if you there are enough examples out there of how top athletes visualize, and it is always important to understand that a powerful visualization exercise always ensures that you know your goal at all points of time. Start your day with a silence and then continue your day with something like an affirmation. Like understand that whatever you're doing is important, whatever you're doing is super productive. And then the moment you affirm yourself of what that is, you are telling your brain, you are conditioning your brain, and then you go into visualization, which is going to ensure that your brain's visuals, you are visualizing how you will be when you listen to the news saying you are that top ranker in the civil service examination, or that visualize that smile on your parents' faces when they hear you clearing the civil service examinations. Make visualizations powerful and make it such that tomorrow, when you are able to see through this mind's eye, you can completely think of, like, what is that famous Sherlock series, right? You can build a mind's palace, and that is going to be super important. There are a lot of mindfulness exercises that we can do. um, I have already told about quite a few of these. Something that will really help you is the body scan, as I already told you, but there are other techniques also. There is something called brain training. Train your brain into mnemonics usage. Like if you come across something, like when as a child, if you wanted to know what is the um, different colors of a rainbow, then you will say it's Vibgyor, right? Vibgyor, which is basically a mnemonic that you did not know that was a mnemonic at a very early age. It's basically shortening a lot of these things. Um, think of ways in which you can shorten, think of ways in which you can break big things into chunks. You don't need to the brain is a beautiful compartment. It can compartmentalize a lot of things that you tell it to. And you can't digest big data. You can't, like, just like you can't eat like five different dosas at one go. You have to like break it into smaller chunks so that it fits in your mouth and you taste it at every single step of the way. That is exactly how your brain training also should be. You have to train your brain into absorbing chunks consistently over a period of time. You have to train your brain into getting into all these shortcuts, so you can retrieve the memory at any point of time, right? Today, when you're talking about a computer, the computer is modeled on the human brain, and the computer can't can't like think of all the things that a human brain can even do. Like processing power could be great, but the brain's retrieval system is still the number one piece in the world. And to do all this, it is going to be even more important that the brain does not get any addictions that it should not, which is going to be your social media usage. There is a very famous rule that is very helpful for a lot of people in life in general, the 90-60-30 rule that I always talk about. The 90-60-30 rule is how you use your social media. It was it first came about due to in the book called Deep Work by Cal Newport, which is a book that I will definitely recommend for everyone to go through before they start their IAS journey, because um, that is going to be super important. UPSC requires deep work rather than any other preparation course in this country. And social media usage, it has been documented. There is a Netflix documentary out there that talks about it called The Social Dilemma. 90-60-30 rule basically talks about from the moment you wake up in the morning, have a 1.5 hour time where you don't you don't open your cell phone, or you don't be in front of any social media at any point in time. Then when you come back from work, or the moment you finish your college, for the next 60 minutes spend time with your close family people, so that like that 60 minutes you are not using social media again, and 30 minutes before you sleep, do not use social media again, right? This at least ensures that you're saving 2 hours per day from social media usage. But even that is a lot when you come when you go for the civil service preparation. So you have to have validation, you have to have a window to the outside world, but make sure that you regulate it properly, and you regulate it really, really well. And that is going to be super, super critical in this day and age when social media occupies a lot of our time and life itself. So once you understand your physical and mental health, then comes, your work-life balance. You have to understand that there are four things that are pushing people forward at all points of time. First is the realization that we need money to live in this world, and the moment you realize that you need money to be in this world, you also realize like you also need uh, the money, not just for yourself but also for the people around you. There are going to be some important people in your life, and you have to spend time with them, you have to spend time with yourself, but also you only have limited time in this world. You don't have a lot of time in this world, and you have to make sure there is always an existential crisis that comes for any person at this point in time, and you want to get yourself out of the bed every single morning. You want to have that motivation that will ensure that you do what you want to do the next day. These are four critical components that drive every single human being to do what they do. It doesn't matter whether you're a student, whether you are a young adult, it doesn't matter whether you are a married person, doesn't matter whether you are a retired person. All these are going to be super, super critical pieces. But it becomes even more critical in a civil service connotation, because you have to have a better time management schedule at all points of time. And if you do not manage your time, then what is going to happen is you are not going to be successful at civil service. Uh, so, and time management does not mean you have to stop talking with people. You genuinely really will hate yourself if you are not able to have a conversation with your parents or your loved ones, or your best friends or your girlfriend or boyfriend, right? You will really, really hate your preparation time. You will keep telling yourself, I'll be done with this and then I will go for them. I'll be done with this, I'll just go for them. It is an opportunity cost that you are using, but it is not the opportunity cost that you should give up on. You can give up on your social media usage, for example, as I had already said, but have those 3 to 5 people who will keep you sane at all points of time. Think of the people who you're doing this for. Think of the people who will be super happy when you crack this exam, and make sure that you are in contact with them, because it is very, very important for a human touch during this entire period of time. And you have to have a social life. It doesn't You don't need to have it daily, but even if it means once a week dedicating 2 hours of time with your best friend, or if it means 2 hours, 3 hours of time with your going outside and having a good meal with your partner, do it, because that is going to keep you sane. That is going to be something that you look forward to, and that is going to give you shorter term wins for your preparation. I cannot understate this enough, but do not give up on your relationship while preparing for civil services. So, and it is also important to understand that this is the opportunity cost. Okay, it's an economics term, but you have to understand that this is going to be super important in your preparation itself. The time that you are going to be spending, there are high chances that you are not going to make it. There are very, very high chances that you are not going to crack the civil service examination, but you have to make peace with it. The moment you make peace with it, the moment you make the peace with it that you are okay with not cracking it, but you are still going to give it a full go, and the time that you are going to spend every single day reading and listening and taking notes, ensuring that you do every single one of these. This is a very, very crucial opportunity cost for this entire time, and that is an investment that you are going to be using. So be prepared for that. The moment you know about all this, then you know that there are multiple different possibilities your future can take, but this is the future that you have. This is one of the futures that you have chosen right now, and you should work towards that future. So, if you have all these, what comes next? It's time to learn. And there are four different types of learnings. If you see, I'm not in front of this video and I'm not talking in front of you, because the moment you see me, you don't see the text that is on the screen. And the eye is very, very important. Uh, in a cinema that is there, how cinematographers work is that they ensure that your eye always captures the thing that they want you to show, and that is going to be super important for you if you are a visual learner. For a visual learner, if I'm standing there, I'm cutting your visual learning style by half when you are concentrating on me as well as what is on the screen. That is why it is in the way that it is. This presentation is in the way that it is auditory. There are people who are like really good at listening to things. Um, I have known of people who like, even I do this sometimes, where I convert some good lessons into like voice notes, and then I put those voice notes into a folder, and then all I do is like I listen to voice notes. Then I know, like, okay, like this is the history of medieval India, and this is how it started. This is the story of the whole uh, uh, independence movement, right? I put those voice notes to myself and keep listening. There are podcasts, people who listen to podcasts and can really, really learn a lot from that. I know of certain people who used to use their office commute time, people who used to use their office commute time to just listen to podcasts, 30 minutes here, 30 minutes there, and then they complete a book itself, right? They do audiobooks that way. That is a brilliant way. Kinesthetic. There are people who can learn a lot by doing. Like, they can't sit in one place consistently and they can't learn, listen. So to them, it is also important to understand this is a different exam. Then comes your reading and writing learners, um, which is basically a huge set of us who have gone through the Indian education system itself, right? Where we read something, we note down, we listen to a teacher, but we are not listening to the teacher. We are just writing down all these lecturers. So this is called the VARK model, but it is also very important to understand what kind of learning style that we have. And the moment you understand your learning style, you can cut your preparation time a significant percentage, because you now know what kind of learning style complements you, and you can work towards even making notes in such a manner. That is going to also give you a lot of leeway into what kind of resources you are going to use. A visual learner will always use a lot of YouTube pieces. An auditory learner might use a lot of podcasts, right? So there is a lot of different ways in which different learners will do, and that is going to be super important in your civil service preparation. So now that I have understood all this, so I have understood myself, I have understood my brain, I've understood my balance, I've understood my learning style. Then comes the next phase where you just have three things. Apologies: time, resources, and method. What is the time that you have? Like in this COVID situation, probably things are slightly different, but for any working professional or a student, this is how their weekdays look like. You ideally should be sleeping for 7 to 8 hours, even though most students I know of won't sleep for 7 to 8 hours, but your brain needs that 7 to 8 hours sleep. And then there is work for a working professional, including commute. It usually takes anywhere between 10 to 12 hours in India. India has one of the largest, longest working times in the world, and a college takes typically anywhere between 6 hours, with commute time also inclusive of 7 to 8, or even homework, learning for exams, etc. So that leaves us with somewhere between 4 to 7 hours for working professionals, and students 8 to 10 hours. Is that enough for a civil service preparation? Maybe, maybe not, right? There are people who have who have cracked civil services with consistent 4 to 5 hours of learning every day. And there are people who have taken a year break and then not done this, like not gone to work and done this like at a 12 to 14 hour, or even 16 hours they spend every day to learn a lot, right? It depends upon you also. It depends upon your capacity. But if you ask me, can we definitely crack a civil service examination with 4 to 7 hours? I will definitely say yes. I was a journalist. I was a journalist who cracked a prelims once. I was and mains once, and I and journalists, we have like 16 to 18 hour shifts, and my sleep time was only 4 hours. But still I was able to cram in, because I was able to understand all those four pieces that I have already told you about, right? And there were also some definite tricks that I definitely use, which I will just showcase to you, right? First is like, I understand everyone has the same 24 hours, right? No one has an extra 24 hours um, on anyone. Like no one has 25 hours, no one has even 26 hours. Everyone has the same 24 hours. So what we have to do is like, you have to plan it. Now, there are planners who go very deep. Like I will be reading history, I'll be reading the civil disobedience movement on a Saturday at 11 a.m. Like there are people who go that granular. I am not that kind of a person, but again, you don't need to go that level of granular also. But what I would always say is like, have three plans ready, right? This is what I call your plan A, your backup plan, and your disaster plan. Disaster plan is almost always for the minimum number of hours you can spend per day, and the plan A is always should be for your maximum number of hours you will have for your day. And you should always have a timetable, and you should always follow it religiously, because if you don't plan your time, and if you don't time your plan, then both your plan and your time goes waste, and you are going to be left hating yourself during this entire time, right? And when you're planning, make sure that you don't plan out for more than 3 months at a stretch. And then when you plan out for the 3 months, then you break it into a monthly target, and then you break it into a weekly target. And when you do this, it always ensures that you have a target every week that you have to complete. Now, there is a chance that you might panic because you are not doing this, but I would say do not um, revisit anything on a daily basis. Do it like a weekly basis, right? With your if you have said like, hey, I'm going to be revisiting my targets every week or every month, then do it in those regular time periods. But also be kind enough to yourself that you can be agile. Do not procrastinate. Follow the timetable religiously. You will definitely probably even have an extra hour or extra um, 75 minutes if you follow. Like this is something that is coming out because of the research that I did on my learning style. But Usually, when you follow your timetable religiously and when you revisit at the end of every week how your time went and whether you are able to achieve the goals that you set out for yourself, usually you realize that you have wasted either 75 minutes or you have wasted or you have gained 75 minutes on an average, right? And that really helps you to understand the time and budget out for your rest of the pieces. And when you do this, it really helps you a lot in the next piece, which is the resources. Now, you have to understand that civil service examination, the nature of the examination is of three steps: the prelims, the mains, and the interview. But there is a commonality between both the prelims and the mains. There is one set of marks that are needed to go to the next stage. There is one set of marks that are just qualifying in nature, right? And this is going to be a critical way in which you look at your strategy itself. Any qualifying nature needs only consistent preparation. For example, your language papers, which are very qualifying in nature, you don't really need to do spend a lot of time, right? All you need to do is like you just need to go through your past 3 4 years of papers and just see how you're doing, whether you're getting 33% consistently, and then based on where your gaps are, you can get it. Otherwise, it just works out. Whereas your marks that are needed, like a paper A that is at a prelim stage or the 7 papers at a main stage, those are going to be the ones where you are going to be having a proper timetable and doing it religiously, right? And one thing that is common, as I said, is like the basic strategy. Both are written examinations. So if you have not put pen to paper till now, start writing from today. Know that the subject matter itself is bigger in the mains and rather in the than in the prelims. So always prepare for the bigger scope and consistently test yourself out on the smaller scope. What does that mean? So basically, if you are preparing your, excuse me, basically if you are preparing yourself, you know, for the bigger piece. Basically, if you are preparing yourself for the history lessons, what is going to come out better is that you prepare history, Indian ancient history, while you when you're giving the test, see if your scope is getting. So when you're preparing yourself for history, let's say, why I keep bringing history a lot is basically like it's much easier. It's a static subject rather than a dynamic subject. So when you are testing yourself out on history, for example, you know you are going to be reading a lot of these resources, all the NCERT texts and the multiple resources that are there. So when you are doing that, make sure that you read it completely. But when you are don't make notes or don't make notes in such a manner that you are going to crack a prelims, right? Give a test, consistently give a test. So once you do your medieval history, give a test on medieval history. Once you do your modern history, give a test on modern history and see how you are testing. And that is always important when you're testing. What are the keywords that you are getting correctly? What are the multi MCQs that you are getting correctly? Because the more you test yourself, the better the subject matter itself becomes richer. And why is this important is because if you can't prepare for prelims and then start preparing for mains, it is always better to do it in the reverse manner. And when you're choosing your optional, make sure that you choose it not just because it is scoring, because at the end of the day, every single optional has a huge impact in the life of the country itself, right? Like if you're taking agriculture or animal husbandry or literature, every single piece has a dedicated service to it. And whenever you are going to be managing that service, you are going to have a lot more knowledge about it. And you should really have a lot of interest. Like tomorrow, if you fail in the civil service examination and you go out, you should still be able to passionately talk about something like whatever you are choosing as your optional. If it is going to be geography, you tomorrow you should be able to have your own YouTube channel or something that talks about sustainability, talks about Indian geography, etc. That gives a lot of learning for a lot of more people also. So that is why it's also important for you to choose your optional, because if it interests you, you will be able to showcase that even in an interview stage when you might be asked questions on the options. And some basic strategy which no video ever talks about is your second brain. What is a second brain? It's see, the brain can only store so much, right? But the brain has to store so much more, and that is why it is very important for us to have a database management system itself, um, in this entire phase. And there are there are there is a recent app slash web app called Notion, right? But that helps you in clarifying all your notes, putting together your notes. It's a note-taking system, but it is also a database system. So tomorrow you should be at a position where I can just open my phone, open these notes, and I should be able to do it. Like there should be flashcards, there should be there should be notes. Ideally, I would say don't have a notebook at all. Put it in A4 sheets so that you can revisit at any point in time, right? Building this kind of a second brain is going to be super, super, super important so that you can come back to that brain at any point in time. And the third piece, once you know how you are utilizing all these resources, is the method itself for giving the civil service examination. Before you do anything, give a baseline assessment. What is a baseline assessment? It is something that is very important. Like if you are giving your GMAT or GRE exam, you get a baseline test where you are being told, okay, like in English you are in this much, in maths you are this much, etc., etc. Similarly, give a baseline assessment. Take an older civil service paper. See where give it in the same time frame of what it is. Like give a prelims paper in the same time frame. See where you are. And then that is the base upon which you have to build on. You could be good at history, you could be bad at geography, you could be okay with current affairs, but you should know where you are in all those things. And unless you take a baseline and then you you are not going to have a benchmark upon which you can build on this. Prepare a timetable that includes phase-wise prep, and it's also very important that you don't bombard yourself with one subject at a time. Like if you want to take polity, don't just stay with polity throughout. If it feels that you are getting boring, if it feels like you are not having a lot of time, etc., because it really does not help you out at all. One big trick that I will definitely tell you is have a journal, right? And in that journal, at the end of the day, before you go to sleep, say have 30 minutes or 15 minutes separately for that, write out everything that you learned that day in that journal. Similarly, do the next day, similarly at 11 or 11:30 when you're sleeping, go through the previous day journal. See, the brain retains a lot what it learns in the first 24 hours that it learns, and then after the 72 hours and after like 1 week, if you are able to do 137 consistently, 1 day, 3 day, 7 day, 1 week, 3 week, 7 week, 1 month, 3 months, 7 months, that kind of a way, it really helps you in short-term memory retention as well as in your long-term memory retention. The more you go forward in life, your short-term and long-term memories are going to be super important outside of the civil service examination also. And you should have a system that helps you do this consistently. The short-term memory retention technique is going to be super useful. I can just give it in writing that a journaling is going to be super important. Because the mind remembers stories, the mind remembers actions, and the more muscle memory you are giving the brain every single day through a journaling or through a note-taking second brain example, you are going to train it better. And always ask yourself if you and your methods are efficient, effective, and enthusiasm. I call these the three E's. And are you being efficient at everything that you do? Like, is everything that you do at the 100% capacity that you do? And are you always doing something that with a smile, with a love? If your answer is a no to this at every single point of time, please pause, take a pause, and revisit. So thank you so much for your time so far. I hope this was helpful for you. If you want to talk about more, if you want to learn something more, feel free to drop a comment. We will take that up and we will expand that out. Thank you so much, everyone, for your time.